Chinese automakers are desperate to enter the US market. Millions of Americans say they'd love to buy their cars affordable, high-tech, and stylish. But guess what? You won't see them at your local dealership. Why? Because tariffs, politics, and some hidden fears from Washington are keeping them out. Today, we're breaking down this automotive standoff, why Americans are ready for Chinese cars, why China is eager to sell them here, and why the US government is saying absolutely not. And trust me, the reasons go way beyond just money. Hey, everyone, welcome back. If you love cars and the drama behind the auto industry, this one's for you. A brand new report shows that 40% of Americans would consider buying a Chinese car. Think about that, nearly half of US drivers are saying, yeah, I'd try a BYD or NIO. And dealerships, 3 out of 4 dealers expect Chinese brands to launch here within the next year. So the interest is real on both sides. Let's talk about why. In China, automakers like BYD, NIO, XPeng, and Geely are dominating. They're building EVs that are sleek, tech-loaded, and shockingly affordable. BYD, for example, sells an electric hatchback called the Seagull for under $15,000 fully electric, modern design, touchscreen, safety features, the works. That's cheaper than most used Toyotas in the US, and it's not just price. XPeng is experimenting with advanced self-driving. NIO has battery swap stations that change your EV battery in 5 minutes. And Geely, they even launched satellites into space to support connected car technology. These companies are not just competing, they're innovating at breakneck speed. Now, here's the US side. Car prices here are sky high. The average new EV in America costs over $55,000. Meanwhile, many families are struggling with rising living costs. So when Americans see a $20K EV in China that looks better than a $50K one at home, of course they're saying, we'd buy that in a second. That's why this idea of Chinese cars coming here is gaining so much buzz. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The US currently has a 27.5% tariff on cars imported from China. That turns a $20K EV into almost $26K before it even hits the lot. And that's just the beginning. Lawmakers in Washington are terrified of what cheap Chinese cars could do to the American auto industry. They say, if we let them in, they'll crush Ford, GM, and even Tesla. US jobs will disappear. Our entire car market could become dependent on China. So the tariffs stay in place, acting like a giant keep out sign on the border. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't only about protecting Detroit. Washington is also worried about national security. Think about it, Chinese cars loaded with smart tech, data collection, connected to satellites. That raises big questions about privacy and surveillance. Could these vehicles be gathering data on American roads and drivers? That's a fear nobody in power is willing to ignore. And then there's the global rivalry. The US doesn't want to hand China dominance over yet another major industry. So tariffs become more than just an economic tool. They're a shield in a geopolitical battle. So here we are. Americans want cheaper cars. Chinese automakers want a massive new market. But politics, tariffs, and security fears keep them apart. Meanwhile, Europe, South America, and even parts of Asia are welcoming these cars, and people there are already driving them, while US buyers were stuck watching from the sidelines. So the big question is this: will we ever see Chinese cars in America? Maybe if they build factories in Mexico to dodge tariffs, or maybe if the US government finally bends under consumer pressure. But until then, it's a standoff. Now, I want to hear from you. If a $20,000 BYD EV showed up at your local dealer tomorrow, would you buy it, or do you think keeping them out is the right move to protect American jobs and security? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious about this one. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into the auto world, and stick around, we've got more big stories coming your way.